I am very excited to be here this evening. This is the second, my name is Michael Williams, I should say. I'm director of the Wheeler Centre, and this is the second in a four-part series that the National Gallery of Victoria and the Wheeler Centre are delivering in partnership. It's a partnership we're very excited about. The series is called, as you could have seen above before, Points of View. It's not there anymore, now it says Michael Williams. Altogether a better name for a series, I would have thought, but what are you going to do? And that's the idea behind it, essentially. We look at 4 works within the NGV collection and we illuminate them. We think about them in different ways. We hear from experts in a range of fields talking about the content in those works of art, some of the meaning that we might extrapolate from them, a kind of context for these beautiful moments in local artistic practice. The artwork is Kngwarray's work, Big Yam Dreaming. I'd like to pay my respects. We're on the traditional lands of the Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present and the elders of any other communities that are with us today. This acknowledgement for me also includes the acknowledgement that the moral and legal implications of invasion remain unresolved to this day. But without further ado, I should introduce this extraordinary artwork and the great thinkers and speakers that you're going to get to hear talking about it tonight. The artwork is Kngwarray's work, Big Yam Dreaming. And given that I am already eminently out of my depth in talking about it, we're going to begin by hearing from Senior Curator of Indigenous Art here at the NGV, Judith Ryan. Judith's special interest is Indigenous Australian art of the 20th and 21st century. Its diversity, dynamism and transformation in the face of social change. Judith has curated about 40 exhibitions of Indigenous art, and she's going to help place this work in the context it deserves. Please make her very welcome.
Thanks very much, Michael. Welcome everybody, and I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the place where we are tonight, the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my deep respect to their elders past, present, and also wish to welcome and acknowledge all the Indigenous people who are here tonight, particularly as this is positioned in the middle of NAIDOC Week, which is a very important week for us all to think about the legacies of invasion, as Michael has said. I'd just like to give you a few words of introduction about Emily Kngwarray, the artist of this spectacular 8 by 3 metre work. Unlike Vincent van Gogh, who only sold 1 painting while he was alive, and that was to his brother, Emily Kngwarray achieved considerable success and widespread popular acclaim as an artist in her own lifetime, and was the first Indigenous woman to do so. So that in itself is remarkable. She changed the face of the art world, really, for Indigenous women, both in Central Australia, Western Australia, and in the cities. Melbourne, Sydney, Hobart, Brisbane, right through Australia, women started to produce work because Emily Kngwarray had shown the way and actually surpassed the men. Emily Kngwarray was born and grew up in Anwerlarr. She was born about 1910. Anwerlarr was her father's and grandfather's country, a Yam Dreaming place, which is located about 250 kilometres northeast of Alice Springs. So she's not a Western Desert artist, really. She's northeast of Alice Springs. In 1926, her life irrevocably changed when the borders of the Utopia pastoral lease were drawn across the lands of the Yamudjara and Anwerlarr peoples. Kngwarray, like other dispossessed people of the Sandover River region, moved to Utopia Station, and there, and on other pastoral stations, she worked tirelessly for the new occupiers of her country, the new usurpers of the land. But she worked as a stockwoman and a worker, a labourer on the Wolfram mines, not as a domestic or cook. She was a very fiery and independent woman. She was an Kngwarray, a woman of high degree, and she maintained she was a leader in the community. She was not married, and she was fiercely independent. And when she comes to her art practice, the same characteristics are evident. 50 years after the pastoral lease was drawn across the country, and following the Northern Territory Land Rights Act, which was passed in 1976, Kngwarray moved back to Utopia Station and attended adult education classes there. These were led by Jenny Green, and she was introduced to batik by Pitjantjatjara women. And this innovative art form provided the creative link between the traditional and contemporary for Utopia women. In 1988 to 1989, after 11 years of working collaboratively in the batik medium with 80 other women, Kngwarray painted her first work on canvas, occasioning a meteoric rise to prominence. In a short painting career of only 8 years, she is reputed to have produced some 3,000 works, supporting large numbers of her extended family and working under considerable duress, and this should not be forgotten. If Europeans were dazzled by the romance and enigma of an artist marketed as Old Emily, for romantic reasons, and the uncanny resemblance of her works to those of the abstract expressionists. You've heard her work compared with the New York School, and it's as if she opened a book of Jackson Pollock and saw the blue poles. But really, she didn't speak English. She had no contact with the art world. And ironically, a number of Kngwarray's fellow artists were mystified by the huge appeal of her batiks and canvases, which they deemed messy, while their works often languished unsold. And the artists who are here tonight probably have had similar experiences with the fickleness of the art market. There's no accounting for taste, or European taste at that. Emily Karma Kngwarray's Big Yam Dreaming, 1995, is an audacious work, painted entirely in bold white lines on black. Now imagine, she's in her late 70s. This was painted, she's in her mid-80s, painted in 1995. She is sitting on a canvas, 8 by 3 metres. And she paints this canvas continuously on the 22nd and 23rd of July over 2 successive days, just using one continuous line, sitting and moving across it, but is able to conceive of the wholeness of it. This is a holistic visionary work which celebrates the natural increase of the pencil yam, the Vinya lanceolata, at Anwerlarr, country sacred to the artist, her birth country. The tangled white linear network is a performative expression of fecundity and abundance, akin to singing and dancing Kngwarray, women's business. It signifies the underground network of branching tubers, the cracks in the ground that form when the pencil yam ripens, and the striped body designs worn by Mudjara and Anwerlarr women in their Kngwarray ceremonies. It's also got the gestural feel of women constantly digging for this long yam, and the sense of them painting their bodies with the striped designs. It has been remarked by John Keane at one stage that this is like the sense of the artist digging a whole field of potatoes, constantly digging and searching for this yam which is growing in her country. As Kngwarray herself explained, my name Karma is from that food. When you dig the yam, the cracks from the seeds are there. They are found growing back along the creek banks. The pencil yam is ours and it comes from a place called Anwerlarr. I still look after it and paint the dreamings that belong to our grandparents and all of us. Big Yam Dreaming did not come out of a vacuum. It recalls Kngwarray's earliest batiks of 1977 to 1988, in which loose scribbled lines were dominant over dots. Just look at this. This is no dot painting. Please get rid of that idea of art from Central Australia and the Western Desert as being necessarily dot painting. These layered, tangled lines, which derive from women's striped-bodied paintings for Awulya ceremonies, underscored her earliest canvases, which date from the summer of 1988 to 89, where they also appeared as short horizontal stripes around the stretching edge. Thus, the work of her late career is deeply rooted in her beginnings as an artist, and also in the mark-making of ceremonies, stretching like an arc to encompass her whole output, reminiscent of a line from T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets, "In my beginning is my end." The vast composition, accomplished in a single continuous line being taken for a walk, conceptualises the veins, sinews and contours of Anwerlarr, the artist's birth country, seen from a planar perspective. Embracing the monumental surface, Kngwarray's holistic vision is sustained in all of the minute sections through contrasting rhythms, angular, meandering long stretches, short jabs of tension, energetic rushes and volatile lines. You sense the artist's whole body behind this work. She's not just using, it's not just from the hand, it's from the whole heart, the whole body, the soul. The huge spectacle of this dramatic, intuitive drawing has an aura all of its own. The hypnotic effect of white on black prevails upon the viewer to acknowledge only its inner properties of drawing. Virtually no narrative accompanies the work. In conceptual work such as this late masterwork, Kngwarray initiated a revolution. Her art resisted construal as any kind of map or diagram. It was no longer notation but a form of visual music. This was a rare achievement for a contemporary Aboriginal woman artist working in a field dominated by a public demand for stories, for information. Kngwarray's status as a new modernist hero was confirmed posthumously in 1997 when she represented Australia at the Venice Biennale, and her vertical stripe paintings were introduced to an international art audience along with the work of Indigenous women artists Judy Watson and Yvonne Kngwarray. The audacious freedom of Kngwarray's mark-making should not blind us to its wellsprings. The depth of her affinity with country and the strength of her devotion to women's business. The painting is the country is the song is the dance, the artist is the land she paints. It's all one thing, connected. It defies comparison with any other artist, yet it stands beside anything created in the international art world as a sublime masterpiece. Thank you.